I'm being joined by a very special guest at this hour, Vrinda Swaroop, the former Secretary, Minister of Education of the Government of India, is joining us. Thanks very much, ma'am, for being with us at this hour. How do you look at what the Uttar Pradesh government has decided to do? In a sense, many would say that this is a move whose time has come. The decentralization of the entire examination process. We've seen that the central agency, the National Testing Agency, has failed spectacularly in conducting key examinations, particularly in the past couple of months. Do you think this is a good idea to replicate at the central level as well?
Let me just qualify this by saying first that yes, to decentralize is the right step forward. Two, let me say that, before the NTA, some of these large centralized testing systems was set up, states did conduct their own tests. There was a decentralized system, and the central government used to basically run the tests for its own institutions. So, and the states used to do it for their own. And there was an understanding and an agreement where states wanted to borrow from the central list. So there were those systems already in place.
Right.
So what I think UP is trying to do
there, ma'am, but it's not just a state conducting its own examination, but 4 different agencies within the state looking at different aspects of the examination.
So let me say that therefore there is a case for decentralization. Now, whether there is a case for splitting into somebody who conducts the exam, somebody who evaluates, somebody who does the processing of it. So these are things which states can manage, provided there is an overseeing that the whole process and the overlaps run smoothly. So it's possible, because even earlier, the evaluators are quite different from those who conduct the exam.
Yes.
So there is always a silo within the overall picture, which perhaps we all don't get to see in the common public, but there are these systems which work together into a composite whole. So I think that's a good step forward, provided they do a cohesive overall job of conducting the entire end-to-end process.
So there is always room for decentralization. That's an important point you're making, ma'am. But, also looking at paper leaks, because that seems to be the core of the issue, particularly in states like Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, even in Gujarat. We've seen that paper leaks perhaps are really what the main problem is, and there's a lot of student outrage over that as well. Do you think that, having multiple agencies conduct, a national examination would perhaps ensure that you have more checks and balances at every level as far as paper leaks are concerned?
What we need to do, Vedant, is to be able to have the best technology which is available today. And we must harness that, and it's available in the country. And be able to harness that for both security, safety of data, and also in the process of how you conduct the exams. So to a very large extent, you can actually save yourself from these embarrassments. But I would also still reiterate that you need to break up the execution of these tests, because if you see 25 lakh students' lives futures hinge on one test, is a bit much. So we need to decentralize this. And you need to have different agencies, even at the central level, with domain expertise to be able to conduct these tests. So like IITG, the advanced IIT are run by a fairly robust IIT influence. So we could have this for other tests also, because domain knowledge is important.
And would you say that an overhaul of the testing agency in general is a solution perhaps to what we've been seeing, whether it's the NEET examination, the UGC NET, the CSIR, UGC NET was also postponed, an overhaul of the testing agency, and perhaps how do we ensure that we fix accountability, because lakhs of students, as you're saying, are suffering, their future hangs in the balance. How do we ensure accountability?
I think you need to break up the functions of the NTA. And I strongly advocate that they should be responsible for conducting the exams for the central institutions.
Right.
And we should decentralize to the extent that states have a large number of such institutions of their own, and whereas the center has every business to set standards for that. So
Right.
it's whether it's being conducted in UP or it's being conducted in any other state, the standardization for each of these exams so that there's a level playing field, and you're able to ensure the competence that you're wanting to do in the subjects that you're testing. So
Right.
that standardization can be done. After all, UGC, AICTE, what are these institutions? They are standard setters for the entire higher education of the country. So we
Absolutely.
could do this for these type of exams also.
Brinda Swaroop, thanks very much for joining us.